Why is corporate travel important? Maybe we could see a show of hands. Anyone here organises or does travel for work? A few, yeah, okay. So these are American statistics which show that from 2013, for every $1 that was invested in corporate travel, the return on investment was $9.50, and I think it was about $3.60 in profits. An interesting fact is that when the world economy was in recession, the companies who continued to travel, who didn't stop traveling and visiting their prospects, were the first to see the uprise when things started turning around again, because they were in front of these people, they had the relationships in place, and they were well placed to then reap the benefits when things turned around. But some companies did stop traveling, and we've measured that 17% was the drop-off in year one in sales when they stopped traveling, and that's taken most of them up to 3 years to recuperate from that. And regardless really of what you think internally from your own business, this report also shows that 77% of customers prefer to meet people face to face rather than doing it online. For the salespeople out there, conversions are way up as well. You know, if you're exporting or even if you're not, every lead that you get has its costs right through from marketing through to getting your salespeople involved in that. So regardless if you're a top level executive or you're a business traveler, a sales rep, conversion rates are almost 3 times higher when it's face to face. So I think there's no doubt it's a €300 billion industry, corporate travel. It is very important, and I just want to move on now to some tips which you may all want to consider if you do travel for work. So cost savings is the first thing. It's probably the thing that people engage with us for more than anything else. How can I save money? And one of the first questions we ask our potential customers is, how much do you spend on travel? And invariably, the answer is, I don't know. You know, with one huge company we're working with at the moment, they think it's about 11 million, but they don't really know. And they've no way of tracking it. So it's really important to understand that figure, I think. If you imagine in our specialization, which is the hotel sector, you know, we often meet a company for the first time, they may have an office in Paris, the staff can book however they like, they may be using 10, 12 different hotels in Paris just randomly. There's no leverage part of there. If you were able to work by putting that business into 1 or 2 hotels in the Paris area, you're going to be able to go back and get a better price, you're going to renegotiate, and you're going to get better terms for your company. The other thing is where to stay. You know, if you're going to Milan, you have to be in the city centre. A great example here that we have locally, for example, last year, 2014, the average rate that was booked through Roomex by one of our corporate customers in Dublin City was €125, and it was €73 in the airport. So, you know, if you're doing business in North Dublin, do you need to be in the city centre? It may well be more convenient for you to stay at the airport. And that replicates itself right around the world. But it's difficult to have that knowledge yourself, and that's why we would suggest that you would look at getting a third party involved to help you on that journey. When to book is a tough one. You know, we're all aware of last minute discounts, but really in the corporate space, they don't really exist. Particularly around air, the sooner you know you're going, the sooner you should book. It would be our advice. And that really applies right across the board. You know, people tend to travel for business Monday, come back Thursday night, that sort of thing. So those business routes are always busy at those key times. Some of our clients who travel to locations where they know they're going to be staying for quite a long time would move out of the hotel sector and into service departments. It's more homely, it's more comfortable if you're going to be staying there for a long time than staying in a hotel room, and there may also be better deals to be had there. So that's again something to consider. And you know, getting a room rate or an airline seat or a car rental is all well and good, but what do you need to put on top of that? Do you need Wi-Fi? Do you need parking? Do you need to try to fly business class? All those added extras can really add up, and unless you have a program in place where you understand which of those you need and which you don't, again, that can be really difficult to manage. And the final point on this and cost savings is the cheapest price isn't always the best value. So, you may find a 3-star hotel for 95 euros. You may be a 4-star next door for 100, which may include breakfast and parking and Wi-Fi, whereas in the first hotel you're going to have to pay for all those. So by understanding what you're after, what you need, you can save money right across the board. You really can. So, as I said, people get excited by the sort of things that we talk about because we say we'd save them 21%. But once they get into the flow and they become customers of RoomX, it's really about time savings is really where the key benefits to them are. And something you need to consider if you're booking travel internally is, do you appoint one person to do that? Which may mean that they have to give up some of their other tasks, but they're going to gain the knowledge and the understanding of the processes. They're going to understand what director likes which type of hotel. They're going to understand the hotels around their key locations. Or do you let everyone self-book? I mean, our biggest client has 500 and something registered users of our service. Everyone books for themselves. But maybe if you added up the 10 or 15 or 20 minutes that it takes them to book a hotel, that's going to come to a lot of resource that's being used, or maybe it could be used differently. So, maybe one of the keys to this is to have an online system where you can book it out of office hours. It doesn't have to be done between 9 and 5. And if you have that facility, you can take your time in the evenings and look around and book yourself. Having it all under one roof really does save time. The booking flows are the same, it remembers your past history, and you don't have to shop around and look for multiple sites to find the same price. On the back end, a lot of people who are coming in from sales trips with bucket loads of expenses can be a real problem for the accountancy team. So we would advocate that you try and incorporate as much of that into the booking flow as you can. A simple field saying, project code and a drop-down box and pick that will then allocate that expense to a particular project, and it's going to save lots of time in the back end. As I mentioned earlier, it's really good to be familiar with the key locations. So if you're opening an office in Munich, it really makes sense to get the person who's going to be making the bookings to go out there for a trip, get used to the area, see where everything is and understand it. And then it really will save them time in the long run. As I said earlier, live booking really is the way to go. None of us go down to a local travel agent anymore to make a booking for a hotel if we're going on a holiday. So we don't see why that should happen in the corporate space either. And if you've gone to the trouble of negotiating rates with hotels or with car rental companies or any other supplier, incorporate those into the flow as well. Don't just set them apart, because the data that you generate from that is really going to be something that you can use to renegotiate at all levels of the business. So cost, time, and then management information. It's really important that you understand, firstly, what you need to know. And I suppose a key indicator there would be around spend. How much am I spending? How much am I spending per department, per project? You need to have visibility on that. So is there a reason why John in finance is spending twice as much on his car rental as Mary in sales? There may well be a reason for that, or there may not be a reason. But unless you have the information at hand, you won't be able to make an informed choice on it. Use that data then to renegotiate. Go back to your suppliers and renegotiate based on the amount that you're delivering to them, which goes back to our earlier point about concentrating your resources into as few suppliers as you can. And that information, that saving, all that can be used to then reinvest in your export. If you can cut costs, it's going to free up other resources that you can reinvest. And the final point in this is, how do I access that data? Again, we advocate strongly that it's an online system that you can access yourself whenever you like, whenever it suits you. You don't have to wait for someone to send you an Excel sheet with data broken down on it. And the last point then is duty of care. So we just launched our service in the UK this year, and duty of care is taken much more seriously there than it is in the Irish marketplace. It's actually enshrined in UK law, the Corporate Manslaughter Act. So essentially, if a company is shown to be negligent when someone's travelling on their behalf, there's legal consequences for that. But regardless if there are or there aren't legal consequences, we think it's very much the right thing to do. If you want to attract and maintain the best staff, the best quality of people, it's really important that you look after them, especially when they're traveling on your behalf, representing your company. So one simple thing is, we don't put you in a 2-star hotel, we put you in a comfortable hotel in a safe part of the city where you have restaurant on site and the internet's good and you're comfortable. And that's really something that I think is expected at this time and something we would strongly advocate. So looking after people is the right thing to do. Things do go wrong, however, and unless you have a way of contacting people quickly, then you're going to be in trouble. And that's something that we find so many companies, let people go and book themselves. There's a famous story of a guy who went on a flight that he booked himself in the States, took ill on the flight. No one knew where he was. He hadn't booked through the corporate policy. He booked himself. His confirmation was in his Gmail account. No one knew where he was. It took them a couple of days to track him down in a hospital in the States somewhere. So if you're doing that, you're putting yourself at risk and you're putting your company at risk. So fortunately, we have 6 key points here, which are duty of care, best practice. Increase awareness of those risks that I just spoke about. What can go wrong? No one likes to think things will go wrong, but they do go wrong. And let people understand that when things do go wrong, unless you follow the rules, there's going to be consequences. Involve the key stakeholders, so don't just decide a policy and then tell everyone this is what you have to do. Get the people who actually do the trips to get involved. They'll have really invaluable feedback. Get the people who make the bookings involved. You may well set down rules and regulations which are just not practical. So get everyone involved who needs to be involved. But then, this isn't an option. When I've decided on this is the policy, this is what we're going to do. But it's not, you're not ramming it down their throats. You're educating people about it, you're communicating about it, and you're training them on the systems. Don't just abandon them with a new system. You have to train people on how to use it. Believe it or not, there are some companies who have GPS to track staff at all times. That's probably a bit too much. We don't need to know what pub you're in at night time, but we do need to know what city you're in, what hotel you're in, what meetings you have that day. All that sort of stuff should be part of your duty of care flow. And like you have in work, you have an emergency evacuation procedure. You need to have an emergency response system for something happening either in Ireland or abroad. Okay, so those are the 4 key points. So I'm going to save time, I'm going to save money, I'm going to get live reporting, and I'm going to get duty of care. So if you can incorporate all those things into one sheet, write it down, and that becomes your corporate travel policy. And write it down is the most important thing. A badly written corporate travel policy is better than no corporate travel policy. You have to set expectations. Tell people what's expected of them. We don't expect you to book a 5-star hotel. We don't expect you to fly business class to London. But we advocate that you don't put a financial limit on things like hotels. The reason being that if you set a 150 euros rate in London, say, there's always something on in London. It's going to be hard to find a hotel at that level. We would encourage companies to provide a degree of flexibility where you get the best priced 4-star hotel, for example, rather than setting a limit which you shall not pass. Loyalty programs are probably one of the stumbling blocks that we find most often. Oh, I don't want to use you guys because I've got loads of points in Marriott. Really, in the corporate world, that doesn't matter. If a company's got 500 employees, they're traveling for business, it's more important that the company knows where they are and the company's saving money than that I'm getting points which I'm going to use for my weekend away. So, our view on that would be that's fine if it's yourself who's building them up, but it's not the key priority for a corporate travel program. And as I said, mandate usage. Don't say please do this or you should do this. It's you must do this and you have to do this, and that's really what works best. And then when you've designed it, you implement it by using the 3 C's. Culture is really, if you're Google, you probably want to do it through Twitter or whatever app it is they have in-house. But if you're Coca-Cola, you don't want to do it that way. It's going to be a more formal process because that's how they operate as a company. So don't don't treat travel and that policy any differently to you would any other policy. Communicate with people, as I said earlier, explain to them why we're doing this, explain the purpose of it, explain the risks if we don't do it, and then track compliance. One of our key customers said that from the end of this month, if you don't do this way, you're not getting your expenses back, and that pretty much ensured full compliance. There are softer ways of doing it, but ultimately, if you've gone to trouble writing this program, this policy, people have to use it, and if they aren't using it, you need to develop a strategy which they will use it. So those are the 4 pillars of business travel. We think that in this day and age, it's very reasonable that you should achieve all those things with no cost to yourself. We also think that no contracts are probably the future, and there really shouldn't be any catch. This is a simple thing. We'll do it all the time for ourselves. We just need to put a structure in place, we just need to put a program in place, a policy in place, and then ensure that people follow that. And it's going to save time, it's going to save money, and it's going to be really important for any company that's growing and is exporting or traveling at any level. So thank you for that. Our details are here. We've at stand 26, and I'll be available for questions if anyone wants to speak to me afterwards. Thank you.